about the death penalty. On the phone this morning to talk about some of these priorities is Governor Jay Inslee. Governor, good morning to you.
It is a good morning. I appreciate you talking about this. I'm very excited about this, getting to work on this educational funding issue, as you alluded to. It's by far, by 1,000%, the most important issue for the legislature this year. I can't wait to start next week to make sure that every single kid gets a quality education in every single school and every single classroom. So I'm very excited about the work that I feel confident about that we ought to be able to achieve to finally and fully and fairly fund education for every single kid in the state.
Yeah, and I know a lot of parents was saying, I got my fingers crossed for you guys. I know this has been a long battle to try to comply with the McCleary decision and hoping, obviously, that lawmakers and with your help can get it done. I want to talk to you, Mr. Governor, about some of the issues we've been discussing this week, starting with the death penalty. It's something that we've been talking about throughout the day. As you know, we now have 8 men remaining on death row. First, I want to talk about the reprieve that you granted one of those inmates last week. This is a man, Clark Elmore. He murdered a 14-year-old girl in Bellingham. You made a decision last week, pretty quietly, to grant him a reprieve from his death sentence. Why did you feel that that was appropriate?
We made a decision 2 years ago that our state's current criminal justice system is very unfair to taxpayers. It's wasting millions of dollars on these capital cases where you can put a person in life with no possibility of parole, and to make sure they're locked away and can end this very discomfort of victims that have to go decades without certainty of punishment. And so we made a decision 2 years ago that while I was governor that we would end this very unfair system to taxpayers by going to a system of life in prison without a possibility of parole. It was done basically both to not waste taxpayer dollars, but also to end the great inequity in our death penalty cases. We have a system now where essentially there are totally disparate sanctions for the same crime depending what county you live in. There's only a handful out of 39 counties.
And Governor, at the same
time, just a few counties that actually this gets applied. So it's very inequitable. It needs the legislature needs to change this.
At the same time, you talk about unfair and unequitable, and I look at some of the things that these 8 inmates have done. Combined, they've killed a lot of people. They've raped children. They've raped elderly women. One of them is a serial killer. So as taxpayers, there might be people who look at that and say, you know what, it might cost a couple $1 million to put this person to death, but when I look at what they did, I think that that's appropriate. What would you say to those people who feel that way?
I would say that this is an archaic penalty that does not reduce crime. It costs millions and millions of dollars. It is inequitably applied because it is not applied in the vast majority of the state of Washington. There is no effective death penalty because counties can't afford to prosecute people. And so it's a archaic thing that needs to be changed.
What would you?
And I've taken a position to respect what I believe is fairness in our system and justice for taxpayers, and not waste this money and not actually reduce crime.
At the same time, I know
it's about us. It's not about these heinous crimes. These people their crimes are of immeasurable cruelty, but it is about us making good, smart decisions in our criminal justice system.
I know there are a lot of people at the same time who would just like to see this be definitive. We have a moratorium right now, but at the same time, there are still prosecutors seeking death in capital cases. So would you like to have the lawmakers deal with this and try to say yes or no, we keep the death penalty? Or would you like, as some prosecutors do, I had King County Prosecutor Dan Satterberg on this morning. I also had Pierce County Prosecutor Mark Lindquist. Both would like to see this issue go to voters and for voters to make the ultimate determination. What would you like?
Well, what I would suggest, the legislators change the law to have a more advanced criminal justice system where we assure that people are put in prison, that there is no possibility of parole, and instead of wasting millions of dollars on a system that does not deter crime, and I want to repeat on this, there is no statistical evidence whatsoever that the death penalty deters crime. It's simply not in the cards as to what really works in the real world. And so what I would suggest that the legislatures change the law that would bring clarity to this, and that'd be the best way to deal with this.
Okay, one more quick question, Mr. Governor, because we're running out of time, but I want to give you a chance to weigh in on this. Attorney General Bob Ferguson will be introducing a proposal that he wants legislators to take up that would ban semi-automatic rifles. It would also ban high-capacity magazines. Incredibly controversial. Do you think that has a chance of passing?
I don't know the answer to that. I've been supportive of common sense gun safety measures. We have adopted some by popular ballot because the legislature has been essentially had a stricture around it. Those who are against any gun safety measures. It may be a ballot issue if necessary. I support reasonable limitations on high-capacity weapons of war. I don't think we need weapons of war on our streets. That's my position.
All right, Governor Jay Inslee, we definitely appreciate you making the time for us this morning.
Thank you, and again, I hope we will talk about the big issue this year, which is funding education, and I hope people are going to be focused on that.
You get it done, sir. You make sure that gets done, and we'll have you on to talk about it. You have my word on that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. A lot of